Okay, hi Facebook. We thought we were live. We were chatting without you. So we're gonna explain things as it in perfect timing. We'll do whatever with our gate 46 energy of serendipity. There's a reason it happened the way it did, right? So hopefully you're here with us and we'll back up and explain a little bit about this energy. And Jess, maybe we'll do it the way you wanted to do it this time.
Maybe. Maybe. Let's try. Okay. So let's start with my screen
Um,
share. Where are we going? Share. So we are looking at the current transit. We've just moved into the 25, which is innocence, and 25 for the sun is over here in the G center. And this again, the G center is direction, love of self. And so we're looking here with the 25. Definitely take a look if you have an activation in the 51, if you get that whole channel, how that's showing up for you. And then we've got Earth, which is our grounding, excuse me, in the 46, which is also in the G center. So noticing between both of those, this feeling and this energy of like direction, self love, and how that's showing for you. And so the 20 energy today, I am wearing my fuzzy sweater with all the feelings on it, right? All the little pieces feeling into the world. And it's also super soft. So with the energy of the 25, innocent, it's really about loving, like deeply, deeply, deeply loving, but from a place where there's like no discrimination, where you get to love very, very, very deeply everyone and everything. There can be a feeling with this energy when you just love everything on such a deep level where it might feel like, well, but you love everybody and you love everything because you could just like walk outside and I'm like, oh my goodness. I have 25 in my unconscious Mars and go, oh my goodness, look at this beautiful day, this breeze, just going outside, the sun. And there's just such a love for life in that. And then as well with people, when I meet people, and that's why the sweater for me felt like this, because there's always a piece of me. Well, not just a piece, my whole essence that's reaching out to people. I love to hug people. I love to just love on people and bring love. So there's that feeling of like like reaching out, touching, feeling, going, is this the place? Is there, Um, but on the other side of that, there is a lot of testing that comes with this energy, especially as my unconscious Mars. So there in the natural energy of the 25, there is that testing, which is a beautiful part of the process because that's how you go through the deepening. You get to that deeper level and you come out on the other side where you have that wisdom. But it's not always an easy process, especially when looking into that deep, deep level of love. And again, unconscious Mars. So your unconscious Mars energy is that of like it's a very almost like reckless energy when you start with it, but then you start to build up and it becomes very powerful in your life. And it's also related to that level of like self transformation in you, finding that power within you. And I can deeply relate. So when we share about how these show up for us, 25 has been a really, really, really big one for me. But it feels the energy of 25 for me feels like a hug of like a nice, soft, warm sweater. You're muted.
I forgot I muted it when I was playing with finding it in the Facebook group. We're in Mercury retrograde, guys. So just, whatever. It is what it is, right? Because the energy of gate 46 says we don't make mistakes. They're just happy little accidents, right? It's this serendipitous energy that says we're exactly where we need to be. And especially in that line one, which 46 line one is my design Mercury. So it's very much this energy of being in the right places to be seen. So there's a reason that we messed up and we weren't on there live at 10 at the time we thought some kind of thing happened for a reason. So anyway, I am really feeling this 46 connection big time. I just sent out my blog about it. There was a very serendipitous thing I explained in that. So when I was thinking about, okay, how am I going to represent, embody, whatever, embody embodiment, right? Because that's one of the names for Gate 46 in quantum human design, I think, isn't it? Embodiment, if I'm remembering correct. But it's about love of the body. So it's again about being comfortable in your own skin. It's about so, in lieu of really being comfortable in my own skin and showing up here, and I guess on Zoom I could, right? Sort of like
We're
maybe
here
next
for
year,
it.
right? If I'll start working out now. So I'm just kidding. No, it'd still be scary. But if you just on Zoom, that's the nice thing. Zoom only shows to here. I could have worn a tube top, and you'd never know. But that is why I picked a comfy sweatshirty kind of thing. And as I'm going through it, I found this one, which says feeling good about feeling good, right? So that's really much the energy of it. And as I mentioned when we were not on live before, the brand is Lucky Brand, and 46 is often about symbols of luck and good fortune and serendipity. So I've also got my four-leaf clover here. I've got my prosperity mala that has all these. Okay, this is the bad thing with when you do these virtual things, you lose stuff. It has this I have a very serendipitous story of how I got this that I won't go into because it's long, but it's chrysoprase, and I never see green chrysoprase. Chrysoprase is usually blue, and I'd been looking for chrysoprase, not even knowing green existed, and I couldn't find it. And then I found this, and I found it at a human design conference in Colorado at a store that I was shopping at, and it has the turtle, which in traditional totems is one of the incarnation gates of my incarnation cross. I want to say it's the 55. The story of the I Ching is that the I Ching was originally read from the back of a turtle. And Richard Rudd tells that story in one of the Gene Keys stories. And I didn't look it up, so I might be wrong, but it's one of my incarnation cross gate totems. So I know I bought it then. And it's green, and it was called Prosperity Mala. And that year, my word of the year was prosperity. And so that was one of the times where I allowed myself to splurge a little bit on something like this, even though I had not planned on it. And I really love it. So that has a lot of meaning to me. I wore a lot of my um, bracelets and things that have symbols. I got a little fairy. I've got an elephant. I was born in the year of the rabbit, and tiger eyes and sunstone are all good luck things. So anyway, that's all mine. And I just love that I'm here with Bob Ross hanging out with you. And I'm going to try to sit over here it looks like I'm sitting on his lap, doesn't it? I'm right where I need to be seen. So anyway, that's that,
Happy little trees. I
right?
absolutely love Bob Ross. He
Right?
is phenomenal. Do you happen to know his what his incarnation is or anything about his profile?
I think I've seen it, but I don't know it at the time. So I'm sure you can Google it at some
I
point.
was gonna say I'm about to look it up.
Yeah.
Um, Valerie says hi. Hi, Valerie.
Oh, Jaji is watching. Hi, Jaji. I know. Hi, Ian. It's good to see your face.
Hello, hello.
Oh.
Hello.
So, Lisa or Ian or anybody else who wants to share, do you have these gates in your chart defined? And we all have all the chart. But
No, I don't have either of them. However, I am a hanging 51.
me too. So 25. Is it a bridging gate for you? For me, it bridges one of my splits.
I would also need a 33 for that to bridge.
Ah, okay. So I have the 1/8, so I connect to the throat. So I have that split. And then I have the 2644 with a hanging 51. So it I feel like this energy really connects me with myself in a way that brings my intuition online. So it's really beautiful energy for me.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say that I definitely appreciate and have a love for the 25th gate. It feels like, as somebody with a hanging 51, that I have this potential electromagnetic connection with all matter in the entire universe.
Yeah, because explain that because I know what you're talking about, but a lot of people might not know about the design of objects.
Yeah, so basically every single object in the world, if it has mass, like if we could identify it and give it a name, a grain of rice or a particle of dust, then it has a magnetic monopole with a G center, and it has only one gate, number 25. And that's why it's called the blood of the universe, because it's literally the material that makes all of this. It is inanimate matter itself. And then we get to life when we get to the 15.5, which is a channel. It's a totally different topic.
Yeah, it's really cool, and like it is, that's a rabbit hole we could really go into, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just for anybody who's confused, let me share real quick. Let me go back to my share. Let's do this.
Jess, were you a teacher in another life?
That's really funny because in freshman year in college, we had to do a class about giving presentations, and I love speaking. And the feedback I got at the end was that I would be a really great, like, lower school or preschool teacher because I'm very excitable and I love to talk and I'm very, like, passionate. And they're like, you teaching, I could see.
Yeah, you definitely seem like a perfect, actually preschool teacher.
Yeah. I mean, I love kids too, and I have kids. So, just for anybody, we're talking right here. So, this channel right here, that's the 5125, the channel of initiation as well. How if you have stuff. So, right now, we're experiencing the transit of the 25. So, if you have the 51 already in your chart right now, you're experiencing that channel and then that definition, which changes in your chart, which is kind of a cool experience. I know for me right now, moving out of crisis has felt amazing because I don't have 36. And so moving into my 25, which feels like home for me, it's an energy that I'm very comfortable with, feels like, oh, it feels like my whole body took a breath. It was like, okay, I know how to deal with this. I know how to move with this energy. It just for me feels um, a lot more friendly in a way. Also something again that I'm familiar with, but it'd be interesting to hear for anyone who doesn't have the 25, how that feels for you as well. Is it that this gate just feels like, because to me, again, it feels like that nice, warm, fuzzy sweater, that piece of it.
Lisa, do you either I could feel you wanting to share, so
I have the 2551.
oh, you do?
I have the full channel. I have it 25.3 and it's in my design Venus. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, I really feel this energy. I haven't been out like today, but I will in the coming days go out. I don't go out every single day, but it's a gorgeous day, but I'm tired anyway. It's another
Where do you
story.
live, Lisa? What part of the
I live in London.
Ah,
So it's gorgeous, springy day, but I've had like a really long weekend and all the rest of it. But when I saw that this gate today, because I have 3/4 of the vessel of love um gates, and like there was like I have obviously my incarnation cross. And then that second incarnation cross that you go through, which for me was the vessel of love. And I'm just coming out the end of that, going into a different one, which I can't remember unless I look it up. And it's a really interesting time. I was listening to the Gene Keys because I have the book on audiobook, and it was talking about constriction. And this has been like a lifelong problem for me. And it says it starts with the breath. And I've always had problems breathing in deeply enough. I can breathe out. I can breathe out forever. But breathing in, it gets to a certain point and it just stops. And I've had this, when you have that intuition voice in the back of your head that is telling me that, oh my God, what's Kundalini? That I need to start doing Kundalini breath and getting and looking at it from a whole different perspective. Because with the constriction and I wrote something down. So what did he say? Richard Rudd said, constriction is the physical manifestation of fear. And I have a totally open spleen. And so I have been taking in people's fear shit forever. And it's only when I discovered this, and when I was on one of Karen Curry Parker's calls, and she told me, be the screen. Just let, this is not your stuff to carry. Just let it wash through you. And I've been doing that, and I've been getting much, much better at doing it. But also what comes through to me is that there there is this love that I have for people, right? And for humanity in general. Now, not in my early life. In my early life, people just got on my last nerve. But that's because I spent all my time in victim mode. So I felt like everybody was against me and everything was happening against me. And then when I realized that it wasn't, and I started to come out of that, there was much more of a love and understanding and forgiveness of other people and forgiveness of myself. And I don't love humanity every single day. And I am only human. And I'm not one for forgiveness around certain areas, but I'm getting so much better at it. Of if it's not mine, I don't have to deal with it. I used to deal with everybody's stuff. I used to take everything personally. Everything this person did had something to do with me. Now I'm just like, isn't that interesting? And then I just keep it moving
You know,
because not my stuff to deal with.
isn't that interesting? I have felt is one of the most empowering things we can think. Like, it's such an empowering response because it's freeing. Have you found that?
Mm-hmm.
I love to just respond with, "Isn't that interesting?" And, it could be taken to be kind of a bless your heart kind of response,
Sometimes it
you know?
is.
But most of the time, it's like, I have a completely open ajna, so it's me realizing that I don't know what it really means yet.
Mhm.
I have an emotional wave. The clarity will come over time. So I might think that I know they the meaning behind what someone did. I might think I know their motivation. I might think I know the impact. But right now it's just interesting because I don't really know. But I really appreciate you sharing all that, Lisa, because I gained so many like insights into my own thinking about the constriction, and the whole idea of gate 25 is the spirit of self, and that's all about life. And, how I had, it's all in the timing of when information comes in sometimes, how we receive it, right? So having just said how this energy connects me to my intuition and how that, my voice is expressed through the 1/8. So, and Jen just knows um, I've been I don't wanna use the word I really am mindful of my words. I don't wanna say struggling, which is what I was about to say. But I've been actively working to rectify my sleep apnea, and, I have always, since I got it diagnosed or became aware that I had it, recognized it as the constriction of my airway being the constriction of that 1/8, right? And so now, as we talk about that missing piece, not missing, I have it, right? The undefined piece of my gate 25 connecting me to my intuition and my need to connect back to source and spirit and the oneness of um, all of us that comes from the love of self and being grounded in the love of body. I mean, we have two of the love, there's four love gates in the G Center, and two of them are the main transits right now. And 25 is getting layered on big time this week. I mean, we've got Neptune coming conjunct with gate 25, and
Yeah,
we've
in
got
your fifth, yeah.
Venus this week. So there's a lot of energy coming in about this. How do we love ourselves in a way that's just grounded in this sense? I mean, that's so spiritual, right? This love of self, and it's like the oneness of all of us, the interconnectivity of all. We are connected to all things, as Ian said, but it's grounded in this meat suit. We're here having a human experience, right? We're in this avatar for a reason, and I often get so into wanting to have the spiritual experiences. How can I be more spiritual? How can I be more in touch with that oneness that I neglect my body, right? How many times do we do all these things? Not you, probably, Ian, because I know you're a yoga instructor and you are doing all these, right? You're probably very connected to, no,
Um,
not,
well, it's a really funny question because I've got this thing called the straw that breaks the camel's back as my unconscious design sun.
okay, I know the
And
line, but which one is that? Tell
it's
me.
the third line of the ninth gate. And when it's the earth, it's the exalted format. And when it's the sun, it's the detrimental format. And so it allows me to always find the way to just, well, are we sure? Can we prove it? Where's the fatal flaw? Where is that final straw? And it's kind of how my unconscious shines through the world. And so, despite the fact that I am well trained in yoga and I practice every day, I wouldn't say I'm the most conventionally healthy person in the world. You know, unlike everybody else, we all have our challenges in this life. The thing that transformed me in the terms of health was PHS. That was a radical transformation in my own health. I was having a chronic issue that was showing up that was ameliorated within like a week or two by switching to hot water and stopping cold foods.
So your hot thirst, that's your
Yeah.
hibernation? Yeah.
And you know, it's so incredible about this 25th gate, and it's part of that mystical way, that spiritual way, from the 1949 to the 3740 to the 2551 through the 1020. That's where basically all spirituality and mysticism is kind of energized through. That's the pathway, the circuitry for it. And so it really is so beautiful having that 25th gate in our transits right now, giving us a very specific imprint around this quality of the material world, the physical world, the blood of the universe, after all.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love that. And if it feels good for you ever to share from like a yoga perspective or any perspective, like, hey, for this transit, this is a really good way to move your body. Like, how can we connect in with, like, especially with the G center for like that heart opening? Like, what are the positions? So, if you ever want to share for people, this might be a good way to connect with your body. Um,
Well,
but
what I can say on that, to be most direct, is that there's somebody called Reiki Marco, who I think might be a little bit more specifically practical on that front than I am at the moment.
Hmm.
I've, being very first line, I've very much come from the foundation. So when it comes to actually doing nine-centered yoga, at this point, I would basically need to be in a private consultation, ideally in person even, to actually do that kind of work. Because as a 1-3, I have to feel it in my body. Otherwise, it's just another concept. And with this open ajna, open crown, open G, I've been led all kinds of different places by all kinds of different concepts. And I don't
Yeah.
let that rule my life anymore.
I love
How
that you
long have
have
you
that
been
way.
doing human design, Ian?
Human design is around 7 years now.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yo
awesome.
yoga was probably at least 3 years before that, I think.
Okay, cool. And what part of the world are you in?
I'm in upstate New York right now.
Ah, okay, cool.
Very nice. And yeah, I love PHS. I'm super excited. I just signed up for a deep dive into that with Leela and Dharma and for the next year to go like really, really deep. And I was just like, I'm so excited because Leela feels like a warm hug to me. That lady is just, she's absolutely phenomenal. So if anybody's looking to deepen into that, they've got Radical Transformation and it's a year-long program. I believe it starts in April. Can't recommend them enough. And
Is
then Lisa
is that one transformation or all 4?
for okay, thank you for yes, it's for all 4. It's
In
for the
1
year.
year?
Mhm.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Then it
I
seems
was
like
like,
they've
"I get you a
definitely.
year? I get you for a whole year? Yes."
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
cool.
so funny. Yeah, it's
So
so cool because it seems like they've definitely sped up the pace, I think, compared to how Ra was doing it. He was very
Can
slow
you
and
just
drawn
back up
out.
for people who don't know and tell them what the 4 transformations are? Because there's
Oh,
a lot of people who are not gonna know what you're talking
actually
about,
get
so
the link for it.
yeah. So the 4 transformations are some of the most incredible, profound, and life-changing qualities of human design. It's basically the next step after strategy and authority has begun to do its process. Once you trust your inner authority for making decisions and you trust your type strategy for the timing, then you can start to see the transformations in effect. And it begins with determination, which is the dietary variable, and it moves into the environment that your body is contained within. And once those have been aligned, at least to some degree, there's the possibility for the perspective on the personality side to begin to unfold, and you can recognize how you see the outer world. And when you're eating correctly in the right environment, seeing the world that belongs to you, your actual unique differentiated intelligence potential, your mythology is something you start to see from the inside out. And then you can share with others. And that's the most exciting thing in the entire world that's possible in any moment is sharing that, your outer authority. It's so cool.
I love that. And she explained it so beautifully that it's connecting in with the body knowledge, right? That we're still the piece that experiences, right? We're not what's happening, that we are this piece within us, that source, but we get to say, oh, how is my body interacting in the world? What's actually happening? What is that experience as the passenger? So yeah, I'm wonderfully excited about that. And
Yeah,
pop
cool.
the
So we can
link
put that link in the thing and I don't,
and I'll put it in the group as
yeah,
well.
that's what I mean
Uh,
in the, comments.
yeah,
But
also
lots to get back to the transits, even though this is a fascinating conversation. Um,
got
to run
excited.
out of time and not even,
But I just wanted to go back to Lisa real quick. And with the spleen, it's interesting with Karen Curry, Dr. Karen Curry Parker, how she talks about the open spleen. It's like go clean out your garage. You're holding on to things. I don't know if I've shared this in here before, but I saw like a quick meditation where the lady was like, breathe in and go, not my shit, and fuck it, and fuck it, and fuck it,
right?
and fuck it. And she starts dancing and she's like, and not my shit, and fuck it, and fuck it, and fuck it, and I know it's like, yes. I have a defined spleen, but I felt that very deeply on the emotional side. I was like, this is great. And to like just start to move the energy, start to clean that garage, get it moving, right? In your body, because there is naturally so in that open spleen where it hangs on to things for too long that are no longer good for you.
I'm sure my dad must have had an open spleen. I don't know his birth time, so I don't really know. And but you should have seen our basement. He had he's from that era where like every empty jar was saved because you had different size nuts and screws and um hooks and fasteners like throughout the whole basement, shelves of you know, the pieces of wood sorted by length and width in case you need them.
Mhm. And then for you mentioned Kundalini, amazing. Nikki Castor is phenomenal. If you're looking for someone, the work she does with breath work with Kundalini, she did an event at Santa Fe as well. Phenomenal. You feel her energy. And with the energy of the 25 coming into deeply that there is that loving, right? You get to love so deeply, but coming to that piece where there's this testing. And this is something that I experienced and looking at where's the wounding coming up. You're speaking to fears, but also looking at where have I like had wounding in my life because of that deepening of love, where there was this experience in your life. So Kathy knows the story. I was with someone for 17 years, and then there was a certain situation that wasn't the best. And for me to work through that situation and go, how do I get to love you and be kind to you, even when you're being cruel, even when what you're doing is spiteful, despite what you're doing, I'm going to be me and I'm going to choose how to bring love. I will not bring anger. And I felt the anger. Let me tell you, I felt the anger. I felt I'm going to burn that down. I felt that deeply. And I said, that's not me. That's not me. You will not change me. And I'm going to bring this unconditional love regardless. And I see you and I'm feeling you, but no, no. And there was such a deep, 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 deep level, because that's a long time to be with someone, right? That it was the most beautiful gift in my life. It was very, very hard, very painful, but I am to this day so grateful because that's a defining moment in my life where I was able to easily love people and bring love to people and want to love and nourish people. But to be able to love someone and go, I see that you're hurting. I know what hurting feels like. I understand that and what you're expressing, but it's not going to change me. And I'm going to bring love. I'm going to bring kindness. Um, so this energy for me really brings in that piece of like that testing through relationships where you go through these things to deepen that love. And really looking at, am I seeing the world through, for me, the 25 almost has like this piece of wonder to it. This piece
Yeah.
of just like love of people. Where there's just that permission in human design. And this is the thing that was so pivotal for me in human design, especially with my 25, that it was like, it's okay to deeply love people. Like, it's okay to feel how you feel when other people don't feel it. I was in Target the one day and there was a person in there, there was a homeless man, and he was asking people for money, and everybody was being so mean to him and they wouldn't look at him, they wouldn't talk to him. And it just broke everything in me. And I said, hi, how are you? Like, I will look at you. There's nothing different between like this person and that person. We're all here having our experience, right? Like, nobody's less worthy, nobody's more worthy. We're all deserving of that love, right? And so just to look him in the eyes, and he's like, I'm would love some food. And I was like, amazing. I went and I got him some food and I gave him his food. He sat down. Just to have that little piece of like dignity and love for somebody. And then I went and I sat in my car and I sobbed. Like, I sobbed because for me, the 25 is I can't understand. I really cannot. And this is where the innocence comes in. I cannot understand how people can be mean. Like, I can't understand how people could treat somebody like that. And that's been a hard lesson as well, having to go, okay, just because I can't think that way, bringing in that awareness and then finding a way to love people who still act like that. And that for me has been such a big test in my unconscious, Mars. So thank you. Thank you.
What line is your 25?
It's 3. And I have the names here if anybody wants to.
Um, yeah, while you're bringing that up, that really speaks to me. But the meanness is often, just the flip side of feeling deeply, right? It's kind of like when we were talking about the emotional wave, even though the 25 is, feeling, um, it's a different, it's not an emotional wave, but there's this fear there that if I allow myself to feel that I am connected and I am one with this homeless man, I don't have the skills to cope with that. So I'm going to put my surfboard up against the wave and block it out, right? Like we were talking about with the emotional wave, where we'll think, oh my God, a huge wave is coming. That doesn't help. That doesn't work. That just knocks us down, right? So,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, like Lisa says, it's sometimes easier to be indifferent, but it's when we can start to do what you're saying, Jess, about really feeling that I am not going to allow someone else's um, meanness to change me, and also to recognize that their meanness is probably coming from a deep wound. Not probably, it is. Anything that is not love is coming from a wound, right? And the more we can all be love. Now, the important thing, so many people think that means being a victim, right? If I'm going to be nice to this person who's mean to me, that means that they're going to keep being mean to me. Sometimes the nicest thing to do is to say, I love you, but I love me too. And I can't be a part of this. I can't allow you to treat me this way because I deserve better and you deserve better. I can't give you the message that it's okay to treat people this way, but I still want you to know that you are loved, you know, go and be whatever. And that is a really difficult thing in relationships. And it's something that is very transformative because it can feel like an ultimatum when you say, no, I'm not going to let you treat me this way. But it's also,
Boundary. Yeah.
yeah, but it can be done with great love, right? It can be like, I want to be in relationship with you when you're coming from a place of trust and love and oneness. This is not a competition. It's not a battle. It's not a, if I have to lose for you to win, then neither one of us wins, and vice versa, right? So, so many times we want to win in a relationship. We want to get our way, even if that means the other person doesn't get their way. So if we're not constantly seeking the win-win, even though sometimes it feels like somebody's got to kind of settle, if the forefront of our mind in relationship is not win-win, then it's lose-lose. There is no win-lose, ultimately becomes lose-lose.
Yeah. No, that's a huge, and yeah.
I just wanted to share, I had a thought on the whole meanness idea as well, a bit of a spin on it, because I learned about the fourth line and the nature of its kindness on its good side and its meanness on its bad side. And so, at least for the judgmental minds, it's helped me to see that if I'm seeing meanness from another person, it's because they're seeing me from the bad side internally somewhere. And
Yeah.
so I can see that from love. So even when there's meanness coming at me, some anti-love coming at me, it's like, haha, I can reframe that. It's still love.
I love that. I love that. And that's a huge part of it, reframing it, coming back to love, right? Coming back to that place of love. And yeah, boundaries have been huge. Like for me to be able to put in boundaries has been so, so important because when you live life from a place where you just want to love and overgive, um, you need those boundaries. You definitely, definitely need the boundaries. And also want to add, my son's 19. The thing I'm here to do is to feel the needs of people, basic needs, love, food. So this is not ever to say like, oh, if you see someone, you need to go and feed them. This is my expression of my love through my design. It's not ever to say you need to do it the way I'm doing it. This is just the way that feels best to me. Um, in this expression of who I am with that team. Finding your way, right? That's what Ross said. It's not their way or that way, it's your way. What is your way that because we're all that piece of unconditional love. That is what's coming through and it's coming through our design. And how does that get expressed in the world, right?
Yeah. And that's why it's an experiment and not a course, right? Human design is not a master course. It's not, we're not here to master the system of human design. We're here to understand ourselves And that's why I have started referring to myself as a guide to radical self trust, because it's not about learning the human design system. That is a tool, and it's a great tool. It's one of the best tools I've come across in life, but it's only one, and it's not for everyone. And it's not something that defines who I am, but trusting myself, that defines me, right? And I will say that, really understanding that um, we're never done, right? Because there's always more, right? And this idea that, at some point we're going to completely embody this love of spirit in this way that's like, you know, like the skies are going to open up and we're going to, maybe, maybe that's when we'll be an ascended master someday, but that means we're probably gone, right? That's usually when we're like, poof, I'm done. Right. So,
I could share a nugget on that.
yeah, sure.
Speaking of that mystical someday, that's always either right around the corner or a billion years from now. It makes me think of what's called the Erons of Oberon in rave cosmology, which is when we've perfected the matrix of design and we have the ability to channel the consciousness of the totality itself through form, and we're not limited by biological constraints like we are today. And that's like a billion years in the future, according to rave cosmology.
Hmm. I don't know. I think is that kind of what happens in between lives, or maybe and even to some degree, our higher self is capable of. There's a for people who practice mediumship. I know we're getting into a whole nother level of woo. People who practice mediumship connect with consciousness of people living and dead all the time. So there is a part of us that is a higher self that's not constrained by this meat suit, and that part of ourselves can probably do all those things, right? So it's
Yes,
being
exactly.
more connected.
I'd have to agree with that fundamentally because everything that we've come to understand as like our rational logic and how we survive and how we understand the way the world works, all of it is based on the hologram of separation orchestrated by our magnetic monopole. And when we go to that point where we're talking about time and the past, the present, the future, with modern science, as far as I'm concerned, it's part of that hologram. And so as soon as you get outside of time, past, present, future, it's all right here and now.
So it's possible to have it now.
Right?
I
It's
think we get
possible to bring it in now. It is possible to bring in that love.
yes, I believe we get glimpses of it every day for those of us who are paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Lisa said it's sometimes easier to be indifferent for people. Absolutely. And when you're at capacity, recognizing that and coming to compassion. There's a lot on my plate right now. I don't have it in me. I don't have the capacity to have that extra love for that person. And that's okay too, right? My change came when I allowed me to love myself. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. That's where it starts in here so you can bring it out. The work inside, it's always in here that you get to then shine and bring out. Yes, absolutely. And
I was just gonna say one of the things, yeah, the disco ball oracle. I have a disco ball in my light, and it always like does this thing where it'll shine on my face, and I feel like that's a sign that I should. Yes, this is good. Anyway, I feel like one of the pivotal points in my life, way before human design, was when I started assuming the best of people. So I started to, instead of thinking, that asshole cut me off, I thought, oh my God, I hope everything's okay. They're clearly in a hurry. Let them get ahead of me. Right. And it and people are like, yeah, but they're probably just an asshole. Okay. But I feel way better feeling like I'm the nice person. And you know what? I have such great karma in traffic now. When I need to go over, I just look over and I do this. And 9 times out of 10, the person will let me in. And when they don't, I think they're probably really stressed and either couldn't see me because they were so in their mind. And think about the times that I've not noticed something and not let someone in or whatever. So just having that whole mindset of letting go of all of that anger, because even when people are an asshole, there are times I told in one of the things here where I realized that morning that I had been a little bit of an asshole to the person in the drive-through lane because I was in my head about some stuff, right? And when they said something to me, it made no sense. And I just kind of was like, what? Right? And I realized afterwards, but did I go back and go in and say, hey, you guys, I realized I was an asshole. Right? So, I mean, just giving people that benefit of the doubt and saying, hey, hope your day gets better. Right?
Mhm.
So,
And
and
that's 25. That is the energy of 25. That's loving
exactly.
without discrimination. That's going, I'm going to love you wherever you are,
Yeah.
wherever in the world you are right now, whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're bringing to the table right now. Great. I will love you. I will honor you where you are. And actually, if we have time, I want to share one of my really good friends, Amy Lee. We talk about love a lot and we talk about deep love. And when we first met, gosh, forever ago, probably about a decade ago, um, she's a 5'2", I'm a 4'6". And our initial interaction, she was like, I don't understand, Jess. Why do you love me? And I was like, I just love you. And she's like, wait, well, I'm gonna fill this out and see how this goes. Like, we'll see. We'll see. Let's see if you still love me in a year. Let's see. And she's like, where? She's like, I always question your love. Like, why do you love me? And I was never able to answer her. I'm like, I don't know. I just love you. Okay. Just like, be happy and take it. And she texted me the other day and she said, what did she say? She was like, you feel loved because you are being fully witnessed. There's no resistance, no judgment, no expectations. There's just a mirroring back to you in your highest, most powerful truths. Isn't that what love really is? There's no obligation, no attachment, no I love you because, but I see you, I reflect you, and I hold you in your fullness. It's because there is a pure presence with you exactly where you are. No filtering of your brilliance through your own wounds. No trying to tame or edit you. You just get to be raw, unfiltered, too much, and just right. All the versions of you. And instead of shrinking, you get to be celebrated. That's why it feels like love because she's like, there, I found it. She's like, I understand your love now.
Sound beautiful.
Yeah, isn't it so beautiful? She was playing with some stuff on AI with that, and it was just she's like, I get it. So 10 years later, now she's like, okay, I now trust your love. I trust whatever that is, and that it
Nice.
it gets to be. Yeah.
That's a great thing. Like, why would we have a reason to love someone? Because then that makes love conditional on that reason, right? And unconditional love would have no reason. It just is.
That's beautiful. I want to share the lines real quick.
Yeah. In fact, somebody even said in here that when you had it up for that minute, that the line, Shauna said that line down, breakdown makes it make more sense. And
Mhm.
he
Yeah,
also said
absolutely.
something about the Book of Four Agreements, never assume. Yeah, that's a great book. And I
I
totally
have the
agree.
cards too. We should play
You?
with those. Those
Uh,
are fun.
we have so many cards. I haven't even told my story about my cards and the frog yet. So go ahead and do the line, then we'll tell my frog story, and then we probably need to go.
Yes,
Good.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So this is just the progression of the different flavoring for the gate, right? With the line that it's not just gate 25, right? It's the gate 25 of what line is in with human design. So you start line 1, line 2, line 3. And so it's explained kind of like a house where the foundation is the 1, and then the next foundation on the top level is the 4, right? And then you can see the 1, 2, 3 in the energy of the higher ones are a little bit more like behind the curtain, that upper floor. And then the 6 is that completion. So the 25 innocence is going through line 1, which is what we're in right now, is selflessness. Line 2 is the existentialist. Line 3, sensibility. So that's what I have 25 in. Line 4, survival. Line 5, recuperation. Line 6, ignorance. And then did you want to do 46?
Sure. And these are, the line names are basically like the keynote. And you'll notice that, like, if you go to Chetan Parkins, he uses different words. He wrote his own line companion, but these are the ones from the original Ravi Ching. So
I love
46 is the first line where my design Mercury sits is being discovered. And so I talk about that a little bit in the blog that I just wrote, which I'll touch on in a minute. But line 2 is the prima donna. Line 3 is projection. Line 4 is impact. Line 5 is pacing. And line 6 is integrity. And so we don't have the time now to go into what each of these lines mean. But if you think of the general feeling behind the different lines, if you know them in general, I know some people who've said they've experimented. I think was it Dave? I don't know. Somebody I know said they were think instead of looking at days of the week. Oh, I think it was Sean Walbridge was saying he now schedules his week like 1 through 6 with the lines of the week. Like thinking of them mentally of like this is the first line day, this is the second line day, and I do look at that when there's important things coming up. What kind of a line? Is this a fourth line day? That's a good day to go out and do things with people, right? Is this a second line day? This might be my day that I stay by myself and do my stuff that I love, right? That's alone. Um, but yeah, so the lines really flavor the thing. And when you look at in astrology, when they talk about in a conjunction, that's when the sun, like this, like for example, when we talked about the sun is going to be conjunct Neptune, and I think it's the 19th. I think tomorrow. Yeah, because it's 25 line point 2 is the energy of that day. And then Venus is 25.5. So there's a different flavor when it's conjunct, when it's in the same gate and line in human design terms, because it has to be that close to be considered conjunct. You'll get the feeling of it the whole time they're in the same gates, but when they're in the same lines, that's when you really get that nuance. So, do we have time for me to quick tell my story about?
absolutely. We
Okay.
have to hear your
So,
story.
all right. So I just finished the blog post. So, and I just put it up, but I've been sitting. Jess has been so patient with me, waiting to have clarity on whether or not I was going to go to this event she's going to because her sacral said yes, and she's pure sacral, and so she booked it, right? Chetan Parkin and his wife Carola Eastwood are doing this 4-day great deep dive course thing. And the details of it, are important, but for brevity, we'll just say there's this event. And I knew I wanted to go, but I also know my emotional wave. But it's really interesting to sit with my emotional wave. And Ian, you probably can relate to this. Maybe you've moved past this easily, but I am very often, as I'm waiting for clarity, I get in my head and I try to get out of my head, but I get in my head. And I have a husband who has a defined ajna and he's very logical in his circuitry. So if I discuss my process with him in the beginning of my wave, I am very conditioned by him, usually to the opposite, to where I have to defend the fact that it's not a clear decision. He's also pure sacral, right? Although he doesn't follow any of this because it's not logical enough for him. He doesn't understand it. No place for human design for him. But we've been together for over 30 years. So it took me a long time to realize I can't bring him into my decision making until I am very close to clarity. And then because we are a couple, it is not right for me. It doesn't feel right to make the decision without having a conversation. So I'm still open. I'm ready to have the conversation on whether or not I'm going to go to this. But it's been a few weeks because I keep going through all these processes of what he's going to say. And I keep getting in my head, right? Does this make sense? Is it the right use of my money? Is it the right use of my time? All the different things that get in my head. And so I get to the point where I'm going to go and have this conversation with him. And I know that the best way to do this is when we go for a walk. It's a beautiful day. We're out at the Greenway. Um, and I'm talking to him about this. And it was this really strange thing where I started talking about it and he's kind of quiet, like, oh, okay. And I said, and I don't expect you to really understand. He goes, yeah, I don't understand it. And then we get to this part where it's always very like murky, like the trees are all standing in water in this part. And we often hear wildlife when we're here, but it was this loud chorus of frogs, so intense that you couldn't really even talk. We just stopped and we stood and we're like looking for them in the water and all this stuff. And it was really beautiful. It kind of just took us really into the moment. And, so we start moving on. And then I realized that he really never said anything. He was just kind of like, all right, let me know when you just let me know when you decide. Right. And I was like, well, that was certainly anticlimactic. Right. And I go,
I was like, what happened?
right. And I was like, okay, that was not at all what I expected. He was like, yeah, whatever. I don't get with you. I don't know why you'd want to do it. Okay. Let me know. Right. Um, And in the past, I would have tried to want him to understand my excitement, all these different things, but I let all that go because I know who he is. So anyway, I'm that night, Sunday night, I'm like, okay, I got to start preparing the stuff for the transit stuff. I'm going to have to do that tomorrow. I got blah, blah, blah. So let me look at what they are and what I'm going to write. And I pull out, and I was like, oh, you know what? Before I do that, like I already knew what the gates were, right? I was like, I keep thinking about those frogs. So I go and I pull out my animal totems and the I Ching book. And guess what? Whoops, here. Can you see this? Gate 46, the
Yeah.
cleansing frog, pushing upward, body love, ceremony, serendipity. I was
Mm.
like, okay, universe, there's a good sign. And then, it was really interesting because the other thing we always see is the turtles. Um, and the turtle is 25. And I was trying to take pictures for my blog last night. It was kind of funny because I went and got my daughter's she has a little malachite frog guy. So I put him in the picture that I took to go with my blog. And just instinctively, I took Erudite. And then I was talking to ChatGPT about something when I was trying to decide what things to put on. I said, quick, what are some other stones that go with fortune? The first thing it said was Paradite. And I was like, oh, okay. So I guess I knew that, we know Paradise is all about good fortune anyway. So it really felt like the universe was saying, be present. And then as I started to explore it, which I write about in the blog, it all made so much sense that this was calling me to really be present, that I'd known all along I wanted to go. But I was trying to get my head to make sense of going. And it wasn't about my head. It was about who's the person, if you ever do those Joe Dispenza meditations where he's like, envision yourself, you basically are seeing your future, right? And I always say, I don't know what it looks like. I just know that I'm going to cool places with interesting people talking about really deep, meaningful things. That's that's my future. That's what I want to do, right? And we're going talking about, moving past generational karma and improving our relationships and all these deep, meaningful things. So hell yeah, I'm going. So I'm into Austin now.
I'm
There we
so
go. So that was
excited.
my story of serendipity. You don't need to read the blog, but I still think you could.
Yeah.
You read the blog, share the blog. It always helps me when you do. So in some way, I don't know. Okay. So anything else we want to add before we wrap it up here? We said that we have when's our
The
next one?
perfection of it, I think we started
It's
about
gonna
10
be
minutes
10 minutes
late
late.
and it's
Yeah.
1:09 right now. I just want to point out the perfection of this.
Right? I want to also, I'm going to have to move this. When did we say we're doing our next one is so we can tell, because look at me. Last night right as I finished publishing the blog and I was about to do something and I went to go and I was like, oh, let me pull up the event so I can have it ready to do the stuff to go live. And I was like, oh, I never made an event for this one, but look, everyone's here who's meant to be here and it's all good. So the
The
next one,
24th. Yeah, the 24th of April.
okay. So 24th of April will be our next, um,
March.
March. Yes. Thank you. You said April. Is it
Oh,
March?
did I say April? Oh, I did. I typed
Yeah.
April. I'm
Well,
so
did
excited
you
for
look
the
at
event.
April?
I'm like, let's get to
Were you
April.
looking at April? It'll be maybe.
Did.
It is on the 24th, which is a Sunday. So no, it's not. I'm sorry. The 24th of March is a Monday. So next Monday
We're doing
at noon, we will be going live. If you're here to go with us, awesome. Love having you guys. I really want to thank you guys who came here live with us. And if you're watching the replay, that is great too. Just type replay and share your thoughts, questions, comments, and any serendipities that you're seeing. Oh, and so then when I sent the whole thing about the frog to Jess, I looked and I was like, oh my God, it's, what was it, like 11:11 or something? I
11,
was like,
11. Oh gosh, it was
like,
so amazing. I was trying so hard because I get so inspired and excited. I get so excited and I'm like, keep that inside you. Let her make her decision. I'm like, oh my gosh, come. Keep this
right?
inside you. Don't influence her. I'm like, please come.
Ugh, awesome. Okay, so we're all good. Love you all. Peace out, everybody. I'm going to oops, fine. I always go to do this, and then I'm like, where the heck is the button to stop the live? It's like buried underneath all this stuff. Here we go. Bye, guys.
Bye. I love you.
See you.